Today, Grade.com talks with Joseph E. Fritz, who is the Executive Director of the Investment Casting Institute. If you haven't heard of them, they are a trade association whose mission focuses on technology advancement, customer education, and industry sustainability. If you are new here, please press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app, because today we learn all about the lost wax casting process. Hello, Joseph, and welcome to our podcast.
Hello, Ryan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you today?
Doing very well, thank you.
Amazing. And Joseph, just thank you for being here. And I can't wait to talk all about this and listen to what you have to say to us for our listeners and viewers. So for me and anybody new here, what is the Investment Casting Institute and what do you do?
All right. The Investment Casting Institute, or ICI, is a nonprofit trade association based in North America. Our focus, although we are a North American trade association, we support the industry internationally. We have members from Europe, Asia, Oceania, South America, and Africa. So we're really a global group. And our focus is first and foremost to support our members, helping advance the technology, providing benefits, and allowing or facilitating growth of the industry organically. As you had mentioned, we do customer education, and we do quite a bit of that. I often visit end users of castings, as well as talk at trade shows in the Innovation Spotlight or the Innovation Circle, as you may often see, discussing what our process is and how it has economic benefit and for that customer and for their customers as well. And I also worked with the high schools and colleges trying to introduce manufacturing and metallurgy, and when you come right down to it, metal forming using the investment casting process to the high school students and to university students to try to show them a path into our industry, which not only sustains the industry but helps us grow by bringing new blood in. So, wow. In effect, that's what we do. We run two major events a year. We have one coming up this November. It's our technical conference and exposition. That's going to be in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And we have 3 days of technical papers that are presented, accompanied by a 2-day expo. This is our main networking event. And if you ask any of our members what's the biggest value they get from participation with the ICI, it's the networking opportunities. A second key function that we have is our member meeting, so to speak, is our Business and Leadership Development Conference. This past year, due to the pandemic, we held it in the virtual world, but next year we'll be holding that in Scottsdale, Arizona. So we're looking forward to doing that. And speaking of next year, every 8 years, we're given the opportunity to host the World Conference. And our turn to host the World Conference was in 2020. Well, we all know what happened in 2020. So we're actually going to be doing that in 2022. We'll be hosting exhibitors and presenters from the world over in Anaheim, California at the Disneyland Resort next October. And it should be a smashing event. We're really looking forward to it. We offer educational opportunities. We have a certification program where people can become certified in the investment casting process as an investment casting specialist. We're developing a new program where facilities can achieve a certification based on their level of process controls and how they're performing to standards to, in effect, make perfect castings every time. And we have a variety of other training and education materials we make available to our members. So that in a nutshell is a smattering about the ICI. We also have a wholly owned subsidiary, Incast Corporation, and that's our publishing arm, where we publish Incast Magazine. It's the world's only monthly magazine dedicated to the investment casting industry, and that's distributed globally.
Oh, Josie, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing all of those words with us, because it sounds like you've got a lot going on and many exciting things are coming up in the near future. So, yeah, that sounds absolutely incredible. So, again, for some of the viewers that are sort of unsure about investment casting or have never heard of it before, could you sort of just break it down to the basics and just explain what it is and how long it's been around for?
Certainly. Investment casting process is probably one of the oldest metal forming technologies that we know of. It was originally started in, well, there's a debate. Did it come from China or did it come from Egypt? But some of the oldest Chinese and some of the oldest Egyptian artifacts that we find are made with the lost wax process. And if you were an ancient artisan, you would have probably found some beeswax and formed it into the shape of the statue or the artwork that you were trying to make. You would then go to the riverside and you would pack it with clay and let it dry. You would heat the clay, basically turning it into hardening the clay, making it like stone and melting out the wax. And then you would pour your metal back into the mold, the area that was vacated where the wax was. Once the metal solidifies, you would break off the ceramic and you would have a casting. And that casting, again, we've seen coins cast from China, we've seen urns, we've seen cats and gods and so forth from Egypt, and they all date back much further back than I can remember. Let's just say that. It's an ancient process. Today's process isn't much different. Today's process really became industrialized with the evolution of the jet engine right after World War II. Instead of using beeswax, we use engineered waxes, typically injected using wax injection equipment into a precision die. Patterns are manufactured, and typically you will set up a number of patterns onto a wax tree and take that entire tree and dip it into a ceramic slurry and back it up with a stucco. You let it dry and you would repeat that. So you're building layer upon layer of a laminated ceramic shell around the waxes. Again, you remove the wax, you bake the shell, you pour the metal, you remove the shell, you cut the parts off and clean them up, and you have finished parts. Now, depending on the application, the metallurgies can become more technically advanced. Typically, when you pour metal and in air or even under a vacuum, just pour it into a mold and let it solidify, you get a lot of small grains, and that's called equiaxed grains. If I were to etch a casting with acid and look at it, it would look like little salt and pepper spots. And that's fine. It's what has been happening the world over for many, many years. But in the 1960s, a need was identified to have a stronger casting. And the thought there is instead of having all these individual grains, can we grow a grain or grow crystals so that all the grains grow in one direction? Because when a casting breaks, it'll break along grain boundaries. So a process was developed called directional solidification, where you literally pour the mold, but you keep the mold hot and you slowly withdraw the mold from the hot region, from a susceptor where the alloy is kept molten, and you grow crystals. And the crystal basically looks like they grow up like your fingers do, straight up and down. So it's very strong this way, but it's like with wood, you can split wood right down the center. So that's directional solidification. And then there's a special type of casting called single crystal, where they literally filter out all of the grains, so you only have one. So the casting is very strong in all directions. You get on a plane today, you're using single crystal castings in your jet turbine engine. It's very robust, and it's a technology used by all engine manufacturers. So that's a little bit about that process. I mean, again, we have from the simplest of castings. Let me just see if I have one here. Ah, just grab some castings here. This is basically, it's a bottle opener. It was made by one of our members as a sample. And you can see here, there's a gate. That's where the metal actually flowed into the part and made the part. And that would be cut off and ground. There's a little turbine airfoil. Those sit in your engines and power your planes. And that's off of a chainsaw. Yeah, and you'll note that it's got hollow passages. One of the nice things about this process is that you can actually create hollow passages, complex hollow passages using ceramic pouring inside of your castings. And you can also use a wide variety of metals. If you can melt it, you can make it with investment casting. One of the key benefits that investment casting offers equipment manufacturers is the fact that it can deal with highly complex shapes and maintain a very high degree of tolerance. So one good example I like looking at, it was a swirler, an injector swirler for an engine. It used to be a 27-piece fabrication where they would go through and laser drill 30,000-inch holes all into it and so forth. And it was a long process. It was an expensive process, and the parts were failing after 6 months. They took that 27-piece fabrication and converted it to a single-piece investment casting. And not only did they reduce production costs to produce it, but the parts will run far more than the 6 months. They'll go for years without failure. So it not only reduced manufacturing costs and operational costs. It was a great benefit to the engine manufacturer and to their customers. So,
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll see fabrications, forgings, hog outs, machinings, finding their way into the investment casting world, because you can usually have your near net shape, if not net shape, manufactured at a much lower cost.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph, again for sharing that with us, because to me it sounds like investment casting is used in basically everything that we have, and without even realizing it, like you say, it's used in engines and planes, etc. And you also said about many of the benefits it's saving different companies, as in time, money, and also the sustainability, where these parts are outlasting parts that have been made in different ways. So yeah, it just seems like a win-win for using this process. And what are some of sort of the biggest companies or industries that you work with?
Well, if from an industry standpoint, aerospace accounts for about 65% of all investment castings manufactured in North America. When you look at the world on a total, it's less. It's more like 60%. But North America, 65%. That's followed by industrial gas turbines for power generation, and then automotive, turbocharger components, rocker arms, and so forth. Those are all investment cast, and those are the three top markets. Beyond that, it's used all through general industry. Orthopedic implants, for example, people with replacement knees and hips. Many of those are manufactured using the investment casting process. Medical equipment, the oil and gas industry, the drilling industry, exploration, and so forth. We use a lot of investment casting. Valves, pumps, recreational vehicles, motorcycles, firearms. Those are all big markets. In fact, we usually don't look at this market in particular, but jewelry. A lot of jewelry, the ring on my finger, a lot of the jewelry people wear, those are all made with investment casting. The monument in the middle of your town square was probably made with investment casting. If you look at the art market, there is a lot of investment casting involved with that. And what's interesting, I'm talking about the lost wax process, but as has been demonstrated in the past, if you can melt it or if you can burn it, it doesn't have to be melted. If you can burn it out, you can pour it. So I've been in art foundries where the artist has they're in effect, they're making their statue and they're putting actual clothing on them. So when the casting is made, you can see the individual threads in the shirt, the buttons and so forth, because all of that was able to be burnt out. So it's just very interesting.
It's so interesting because I never really knew much about this before I come on this call today. And it just goes to show that investment casting is literally used in so much across the world, and things that we sort of just take for granted on a daily basis. It now makes me want to go and look at things and think, wow, I wonder how they made that. So it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible how these things are made. And I just want to say thank you for sharing that with us today. Could you please tell us a little bit more about the InCast magazine that you mentioned?
Well, InCast, in effect, it's the voice of the industry. It is a publication that is, we view that as a member benefit, and it goes to more folks than our members. Any one of our members who wants to send it to their customers, we do so. We can distribute that. The circulation is about 1,800 hard copy issues plus the digital version. The magazine, throughout the course of the year, goes through the entire investment casting process. We will have an issue dedicated to pattern manufacture, pattern removal, the shell manufacture, casting, and we take it right through the whole process, and tooling, manufacture, etc. But we will also have issues dedicated to our entire supply chain, where we have our buyer's guide. That's our February issue. That's one of our biggest issues. And we send that out not only to our members and our regular distribution, but we send that issue out to typically 300 foundries worldwide that aren't members, because it gives them access to our supplier members. It lets them know, hey, these people are producing product that you may need. And it's a benefit to our suppliers or our supplier members to make this available to not only investment casting folks, members of the ICI, but those who aren't. And an interesting point too, and I neglected to mention that, the InCast magazine is not only the official magazine of the ICI, but it is also the official magazine of the European Investment Casters Federation. And we've had that relationship now for a couple of years. We worked very closely with the EICF, and we're sister organizations. Carlos Alabi, who is my counterpart over there, he and I have a tremendous relationship, and a lot of it is built on the events we've worked on together and this magazine, which is a monthly labor of love for both of our associations to work on. So we have our supplier issue. In August, we have our foundry issue, where we talk about our foundries. Incidentally, members can publish in our magazine, free of charge, profiles about their companies. So the suppliers can go in there and tell all the foundry members who they are, what they're about, what they're manufacturing, free of charge. The same thing for the foundries. And the foundries generally target August, because in August, we send the magazine out to an additional 300 plus original equipment manufacturers, the engineers and the buyers that don't normally get the magazine, so they can see what's going on in the industry and the who's who. Other big issues in the autumn before our technical conference and expo, we have our pre-show issue and our post and then our post-show issue. And at the show is where we give all of our major awards. We give the Innovator of the Year award. That is probably the most coveted award. It goes to one foundry or supplier that has demonstrated the greatest innovation for the year. We induct people into our Hall of Honor. We give scholarships to interns for them to continue their education and find their way into the industry. We have our annual casting contest. All of these things are presented at the technical conference and find their way into typically the November issue of the magazine. And then we finish the year with our education issue, where we highlight the efforts of our university members, the teachers, and the teachers from our own industry. The courses that we have are taught by our industry members. And our editor, Aaron Almalay, who I think does a wonderful job, originally designed the December issue to look like a college yearbook. So it shows the committees as teams, so you see the various teams that we have. You see the administration, and you see all the players. We also will ask our university members to identify their top students, send us their photos and their bios, the ones who are graduating this year. And we highlight the students who are interested in coming to the industry. So we, pretty much wrap the year up that way. I didn't mention how we start the year off. January is our forecast issue, where we talk about what we saw happen last year and what we think is going to happen in the year coming, which is also a well-read issue. So it's a diverse magazine. We try to carry humanitarian issues in there as well as industry issues. We like publishing just what's happening to help keep people connected, because as I had mentioned, when you talk to our members, the number one benefit of being a member of the Investment Casting Association, or Institute rather, is the networking. And we view our magazine as a support of that networking platform.
Yeah, that's great. And what really stood out for me there was a couple of things, actually. Like when you said that, first of all, you allow, say, companies to put who they are in the magazine free of charge. It's just so nice to hear that you're offering that awareness, so these organizations and companies can get the exposure that they need, because they're obviously doing incredible things. And the other thing that stood out for me was when you say you highlight students, for instance, that are going above and beyond and really going for it in that industry. Because when people are sort of rewarded or called out to say, look, you're doing an amazing job, it makes them want to do more and help more as well. So that's just so nice that you are appreciating the ones that are doing great things. So it goes on for me asking the final question, which would be, what is your vision for the future with the ICI, and what can anybody, say, listening or watching do to help or become a part of this at all?
Well, good question. This year, back in March, with the encouragement of our executive committee, I called a summit meeting of all of the North American trade associations dealing with metal forming. So we have people not only doing investment casting, but there are folks that are doing sand casting and die casting. There are other groups that do a combination of those. So we have the Steel Founders, they do investment as well, and there's non-ferrous, but there's a whole bunch of us, and we're duplicating effort in many regards. And I called this meeting of all the heads of state, so to speak, to let's get together, identify areas that we can collaborate, help not only our money go further, but offer greater benefit to our members, to the industry, because we are here to serve the industry, each and every one of us. And that was extremely well received. I was very happy we had 100% participation. We have, from that group, we have identified 8 key objectives, and that works well. If we have eight associations involved in 8 objectives, each association can lead one and take that forward. What we're working on the ICI as far as leading is workforce development. And one of the things that we are lacking here in the United States and North America, is a good intern journeymanship master's program to take high school educated individuals through a proper path to really help their career grow and flourish, much like we have there are master mechanics, master plumbers, master electricians. We don't have master foundrymen. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. I know that there are similar programs in Europe and in the UK in particular that are operated very successfully. So we are smart enough to try to learn from what other people are doing. But that's one of the things that we're doing. So if I have a vision for the future, it's in effect going to be working with my colleagues with the other associations, we'll be able to provide more for our members, help to technically advance more rapidly the needs of the industry. The growing industry is constantly pushing the envelope on the needs. There was a point in time where people viewed additive manufacturing as a competing technology, and it really isn't. It's a key enabler. It helps us do even more than what we could do without being able to print patterns. We can reduce time on process development dramatically using additive manufacturing. So it's learning to use new technologies that come out, harnessing them and bringing them out to the community, or developing new technologies and working together. I believe that these are some of the great things that we can do. So I think that we are really at an apex where we are today with the state of the industry, the state of the world around us, the drive for Industry 4.0, which came out of Germany, now getting attention here in North America. There's just so much that we can do, so many exciting things. My vision is that we are going to be part of that. We're going to help drive it forward. We're going to enable our foundries to be smart manufacturing sites, and working with the other groups that we've normally had nothing to do with in the past, which is a terrible thing. I know generations ago, oh, you don't want to work with them, or you don't want to work with them. No, we're working together now. And I think that working together, we could do so much. So that's my true vision. People who want to get involved with us, it's very interesting too. We just established a new membership category for people who do want to get involved with the Investment Casting Institute, because normally we have our regular members, which are foundries, and our affiliate members who are suppliers to the industry. But we really didn't have a category of membership for people or groups that could bring benefit to the ICI, or we can bring benefit to them, but they aren't directly involved. Well, we now do. It's called an allied membership. And we now moved all of our universities into the allied membership group. And we've gotten our first non-university member in there, SESME. And SESME is the Smart Manufacturing Institute run by UCLA and funded by the Department of Energy. And their focus is very Industry 4.0. So they are the first member as an allied member with the ICI. And the key thing to being an allied member is that membership has to be mutually beneficial. If you can help us and we can help you, we want you as a member. So I'd say just go to our website, investmentcasting.org. And you can actually find on that website, you can find my email, and phone number. You can write me, you can call me, or you can just go and read all about us and go to our membership page and learn about how you can be involved.
Joseph, that is perfect. That's all we needed to hear there. And anybody listening now knows how they can reach out to get involved with the ICI. So thank you so much, Joseph. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. And for you listening, if you've enjoyed this episode, please press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. That will show the algorithm that this is an important conversation, so more people can learn about the benefits of using investment casting procedure.